Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin Zettelkasten podcast. This episode is about tracking your writing, past and present. I covered this a while back, but I'm getting some questions even today, some recent questions, and it's a very common question that I get from people. When people are starting out their brand new Zettelkastens, one of the things that I hear the most from them is that I've got a mountain of journals, I've got a pile of papers, I've got all kinds of past source material. How am I ever going to get that into a Zettelkasten? And I'll give you the answer in one word, and I'm not being silly, but I will give it to you in one word: slowly. It's not going to happen really fast, but it's totally doable. And I'm going to separate past and current writing because I have two different philosophies on that. And that is that past writing is a catch-up job. And since it's a catch-up job, that means it's always going to loom a little bit larger than it ever is because it's all there waiting to be done. And it takes time. It's not something that you can do immediately, but it's something that you can chip away at. And the answer to how to do it is very much the same as how you would Zettelkasten any ordinary book, because these are your writings, your past work, and you are the author. And that means that one of the ways you have to do it is you have to be able to identify what journal are you talking about, because that's one of the common things that people say. I've got a shelf full of journals and who knows what is in each of them. So you're going to label the journal that you're tackling. And I like to just simply use file folder labels. I like this one. This is not an example of labeling a journal, but it's just a file folder label, and it gets like a bib card number. In fact, that is a bib card number. So assign it a bib card number, and on the front of your bib card, like all good bib cards, you're going to put that was written by you, that it's a journal, what the journal was for, and the dates if you have them on the front. So the front of the bib card identifies the source, and across the top, you're going to put the name that you gave that journal so that you can find that journal again on your shelf when you're ready for it. The next thing you need to do with your journals is they all need to have page numbers. Very often, journals do not have page numbers. My current favorite form of journaling is a yellow legal pad, and it does not come with page numbers, so I write them in on all 50 pages. Will get page numbers, handwritten, because you need a page number to reference it. Okay, now you've got the name of the journal, just like the name of a book. You've got page numbers, just like you have page numbers in a book, and just do your bib card just like you would do a bib card for a book, making note of the entries, what captures you, what ideas especially are important to you, and what factual information you want to track as well. And then, just like you do with your regular reading, you're going to make a certain number of bib cards, a certain number of main cards from that material. Something in there is going to seem so sparkly and so wonderful that you want to have it in your Zettelkasten. And that's, of course, part of the reason why you're harvesting your journals, is to get those wisdom pieces out of there. And when you do that, you're going to harvest a main card. What you got from the author is your past self. How you answer is how your current self feels about what your past self wrote. And then, of course, you'll reference the journal right on the main card so that you can get back to your bib card. And from your bib card, you can get back to the journal. And just gradually, as time permits, read your journals just like you would read a book, and take bib cards on them just like you would take notes on a book. Now, that is for your past stuff, because I have a completely different process for current stuff. For current stuff, for myself, and that's what I'm trying to share with you here, are some ideas that I use because, ultimately it's your Zettelkasten, you get to choose. But this has worked out for me really, really well. And that is to use yellow legal pads as my journals. I number all 50 pages. I put a file folder label on the top and give it the next available number. This one is D27. When it's full, I'll create D28. I put a date range on it so I know when I started writing it and when I finished. And everything that I write in one of these journals, this one is D26, the one that preceded it, everything that I write gets cataloged. See this margin? Over here in the margins, I indicate topic changes. It gets a different letter when it's a topic change. Just put a circle around it. And then, besides that, I indicate where a record of this is kept in my Zettelkasten. Okay, so I do not make bib cards out of my journals. Well, in part because when I'm writing on one of these yellow legal pads, I'm writing for a purpose. Usually in my past journals, I am writing for reflection or meditation for other reasons. So that's why a journal to me is different. A journal to me is something which start to finish is basically my reflective writings. Whereas what I put on the legal pad is my productive writings, what I'm, sometimes it's what I'm reasoning out while I'm reading something that's especially difficult, but usually it's output that I'm creating. So what kinds of output am I currently creating? Well, right now I'm currently creating just about every day, not absolutely every day, but practically every day, I do a podcast, a video podcast like this one, lately that have been explaining the Zettelkasten. Then beyond that, I have a weekly broadcast email that I send to people who are on my mailing list. Nowadays, I have 2 because I'm also sending once a week to people who want to know about progress on the Zettelkasten course I'm planning. And in fact, that's another thing I'm creating, a Zettelkasten course. So I have notes for that. And then I have a monthly physical newsletter that subscribers subscribe to it and gets mailed to their home. And so I also collect information through the month as I'm writing those. So because I have different output areas, I use different bib cards for each specific type of a thing. And I have a set of bib cards for my podcast. And well, I'll show you the specifics when we do the down-facing camera. I want to do the philosophy first. So everything that I write on my yellow legal pad gets tracked in the margins onto a bib card. And on the bib card, I will explain briefly what it was that was on that article that was on my yellow legal pad. So the legal pad points to the bib card, and the bib card points back. Just like a bib card points to a main card, and the main card points back to the bib card, and the bib card points to a book. I like everything to point to and from so you can get to and from all of your sources very, very readily. So the reason why I want to keep these on separate bib cards is because when I'm working on actually creating, say, for example, my weekly broadcast email, I want to go to the ideas that I thought of that week of things that I thought that you might be interested in. And I'll jot down little notes of what I ought to share with you and what you might like to know about what I've been doing this past week that might be entertaining. And so that's what's the kind of thing that goes on that. My monthly newsletter has several departments, and I'll write down, maybe I'll actually compose an essay that goes into it, and I'll want to track where that is. So let's take a look now at how I do my current writing, because my philosophy is this: I will catch up my past writing when and if I can. 76 going on 77. I don't know if I'll ever completely finish it, but when time permits, it's like a book on my shelf, and I will read it when I'm ready. But my daily stuff, every day, everything that I write into one of these little pads gets tracked onto a bib card somewhere in my system, so that I'm not building up a bunch of further stuff to have to catch up with later. So let's take a quick look at how I track my current writing to kind of close this off. See you over in the down-facing camera. Okay, now we're going to take a look at how it's actually done to track my current writing. And that is, every time I start a new yellow legal pad, I give it a number and I track the date range when the pad was being written onto. I keep a cute little clip-on ribbon that just attaches to the back of the page, and it tracks for me where my next free space is. When I finish with one article, I just draw a couple of lines and start the next one. I just write continuously for page after page until the entire book is finished, and I go from topic to topic willy-nilly. So let me give you a specific example. Here's a little story that I originally wrote with the idea of using it to illustrate the character trait I'm talking about in my August newsletter, which is called constancy. So initially, I logged it as belonging right here to my for my newsletter 4, which is my August newsletter. And on the second card, here it is. And here's the page number, 37. See if you can see this. Page 37, topic B. And so that's exactly what I do. RD26, that was this previous yellow pad. Page 37B was a little story, and I just made a little note of what the skit was about. Later on, when I worked on my weekly broadcast email, I decided that would be a good story to put into my email, just to kind of be able to convey to people who are on my mailing list what kind of thing I'm going to be making one of the central themes of the coming newsletter. So in that case, I also updated this reference to show that no, I actually used it on the weekly broadcast email. So there again, the same reference shows up over here, D2637B, with the same story that actually got used here. So whether I'm writing for my weekly broadcast email, whether it's my podcast of the given date, or whether it's my newsletter, it's all the same. I indicate where in the yellow legal pad I've been writing, what pad number, what page number, what article number, and I just log them with a little bit of description of what's going on, just like I would do a bib card for another book I was reading. And there's one other type, and that's for my fiction writing. For my fiction writing, I will have a bib, especially type of bib card, where I'm going to either talk about a character or a place in the story where I'm tracking what I've written. And again, I write those on yellow legal pads as well. And I will indicate where I last wrote and a little bit about what it was, so I can always find where I left off in any given scene or when I'm describing any given character. So it's just so flexible that I'm finding it, that I'm using it whenever I need to track anything that I've written. And that way I never lose track. For storage, my yellow legal pads go into folders like this, and that way I find that it does a very good job of keeping the pad from curling up and making a mess. And the numbering makes it real easy to go back to a certain section when I want to get back to something that I've written. This system is working out really well for me, and I simply wanted to share it with you because so many of you are looking at back mountains. Tackle your back mountains as you may, build up your bib cards for them, and bring some of them into main cards. It's worth it. It's definitely worth the while, but it is a labor of love because it does take some time to get back through all those old journals. But your current writing, stay up to date with that, and you won't be expanding the pile that's your to-do list. Thank you. Bye-bye.